Mei Ling hurried through the thick snow, her breath visible in the frosty air. At just 20 years old, she had already endured more pain than most people feel in a lifetime. Her heart raced as she recalled the harsh words of her husband who had kicked her out of their small cabin. "You're worthless. No one will want you," he had screamed. Those words echoed in her mind, fueling her determination to escape. The mountains loomed ahead, majestic yet intimidating. Mei Ling knew she needed to find shelter before nightfall. The biting cold seeped into her bones, making every step feel heavier. Thoughts of what lay behind her, mixed with hope for a better future, pushed her onward. As she climbed higher, exhaustion began to weigh down her spirit. Just when she thought she couldn't go further, she spotted a faint glow in the distance. Her heart leaped with hope, and she quickened her pace. Approaching the cabin, Mei Ling knocked on the weathered door. It creaked open to reveal Jack, a mountain man with a rugged face and warm brown eyes. He looked surprised, but not unkind. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice deep and cautious. I need help," Mei Ling stammered. "I can sleep in the barn." Jack studied her for a moment before saying firmly, "You'll sleep next to me. It's too cold to be alone." His words held both authority and compassion, igniting a spark of safety within her heart. With Jack's offer of shelter echoing in her mind, Mei Ling cautiously stepped into the cozy cabin. The warmth enveloped her like a comforting blanket, but uncertainties lingered. "I'm safe now," she whispered to herself, trying to quell the fear of what had happened before. The mountains outside were imposing, their peaks piercing the sky, shrouded in white. As she sat by the fire, she couldn't help but remember her journey through the snow. Each step had been a battle against both the cold and her painful memories. The biting wind had screamed in her ears, and shadows seemed to follow her, reminding her of the darkness she was escaping. "Do you want some tea?" Jack's voice pulled her from her thoughts. His kind gesture surprised her. "It'll warm you up," he added while pouring a steaming cup. "Yes, please," Mei Ling replied softly, grateful for his generosity. She accepted the cup, feeling the warmth seep into her hands. As they sat together in silence, she felt a mix of determination and fear. What if her husband found her? What if she couldn't start anew? But there was also hope blossoming inside her. She couldn't ignore how Jack's calm presence made her feel safer. "Thank you for helping me," she finally said, looking up at him with earnest eyes. "I was so lost out there." Jack nodded, his expression serious yet caring. "Here, you're safe. We'll figure this out together." Her heart fluttered at his words, temporarily soothing her worries about the future. As Mei Ling settled into the cabin, she began to study Jack more closely. He was a rugged mountain man, with weather-beaten skin that spoke of years spent outdoors. His hands were strong, calloused from hard work, and his piercing blue eyes seemed to hold a world of solitude within them. "Tell me about yourself, Jack," Mei Ling ventured, feeling curiosity replace some of her anxiety. She watched as he stirred the embers in the fireplace, sending a soft glow across the room. "Not much to tell," he replied with a slight shrug. "I've lived in these mountains for years. I hunt, fish, and grow what I can in the summer." His voice was deep and steady, offering reassurance. "What made you choose this life?" she asked tentatively. Jack paused, looking out the window at the snow-covered peaks. "Been a loner for as long as I can remember. The mountains, they speak to me." He turned back to her with a soft smile. "But it gets lonely sometimes." Mei Ling sensed an unexpected depth in him. "It must be nice to be free," she said quietly, her own heart heavy with past burdens. "It is," he admitted, "but it's not easy either." There was an understanding between them, both marked by their struggles, she as a girl fighting for her life, and he as a man carving out his existence alone. As they shared stories by the flickering firelight, Mei Ling felt a growing connection to Jack. For the first time since escaping her husband's wrath, she could envision a different future, one filled with possibility rather than fear. As the fire crackled softly in the cabin, Mei Ling felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She appreciated Jack's kindness but was hesitant to stay too close. I'll sleep in the barn, she said, her voice tinged with uncertainty. The thought of being alone, even in a barn, felt safer than sharing space with someone she barely knew. Jack turned to her, his expression firm yet gentle. You'll sleep next to me. It's too cold to be alone out here. His deep voice held a note of authority that made Mei Ling pause. She could see the sincerity in his eyes, and something about his presence made her feel unexpectedly safe. But what if... She started to protest, but Jack interrupted her gently. No buts, he said with a soft smile. It's dangerous in these mountains at night. Trust me. Mei Ling hesitated, battling the remnants of fear from her past and a longing for safety. How could she trust this man? Yet there was something calming about him. He exuded a warmth that put her at ease. Finally, after a moment of silence filled with unspoken fears and hopes, she nodded slowly. Okay, she whispered, next to you. As they settled near the fire with only a blanket between them, Mei Ling felt relief wash over her like the soft glow of the flames. For the first time in days, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she had found a refuge from her past troubles. As the warmth from the fire wrapped around her, Mei Ling's mind raced with conflicting thoughts. She had fled an abusive relationship, and now here she was, in the home of a man she barely knew. Jack sat not far from her, his rugged appearance and strong demeanor both intimidating and oddly reassuring. What if he turns out to be like my husband? She worried silently. Yet something in his steady gaze made her hesitate. Are you all right? Jack asked gently, noticing her distracted expression. You look troubled. It's just hard for me to accept this, Mei Ling admitted, her voice shaking slightly. I've been alone for so long. Jack nodded, his blue eyes reflecting understanding. I get it. It's not easy to trust, he said. But I promise you're safe with me. She wanted to believe him. The kindness in his tone softened her fears. As the shadows danced on the cabin walls, Mei Ling thought about making yet another choice, one that could lead her toward healing instead of fear. Okay, she finally whispered, pushing past her doubts. I'll stay next to you. A gentle smile broke across Jack's face, lighting up his rugged features. Good choice. You'll see, it'll feel like home. As they settled closer together by the fire, Mei Ling felt an unexpected sense of calm. With each passing moment, she sensed that perhaps Jack was her chance to escape, not just physically, but emotionally, from the pain that had haunted her for so long. As the fire crackled softly, casting flickering shadows on the walls, Mei Ling felt a growing sense of connection with Jack. Tell me about your life here, she encouraged, curiosity easing her earlier tension. Jack leaned back, his gaze fixed on the flames. Well, it hasn't always been easy, he began. I lost my family years ago in a tragic accident. They were everything to me. Mei Ling listened intently, sensing the weight of sorrow in his voice. After that, I found peace in the mountains. It's quiet here, too quiet sometimes, he added with a hint of longing. Mei Ling felt a pang of sympathy for him. I understand what it means to lose something precious, she replied softly. I lost my home when my husband, he became someone I didn't recognize. Tears threatened to spill from her eyes, but she pushed them back. I was so afraid. I thought I would never find safety again. Jack looked at her with compassion. You will find your strength again, he said firmly. It may take time, but you're stronger than you think. Mei Ling met his gaze, feeling understood for the first time. Thank you for saying that, she murmured. As they shared pieces of their lives, the bond between them deepened, and laughter began to replace some of the sadness. The warmth of the fire mirrored a growing warmth in her heart, a feeling she had almost forgotten existed. Through shared stories and understanding, they began to heal together, each finding solace in the other's journey as they faced a future full of uncertainty, yet ripe with hope. The next morning, a chill hung in the air as Mei Ling woke to the sound of cracking twigs outside. She glanced at Jack, still asleep beside her, and felt the warmth of their shared space. Suddenly, a loud growl echoed from outside, jolting her heart into her throat. "Jack, what was that?" she whispered urgently, her voice trembling. Jack stirred awake, instantly alert. "Stay here," he instructed, his tone firm but calm. He quickly grabbed his coat and moved toward the door, sending a reassuring glance back at Mei Ling. "I'll check it out." With her heart pounding, Mei Ling watched as Jack opened the door. The moment he stepped outside, she heard him shout, "Get back!" She peered through the cabin's small window just in time to see a large mountain lion prowling nearby. Jack stood his ground confidently, his broad shoulders squared against the fierce creature. "Go on, get!" Jack yelled, waving his arms to scare the lion away. The animal hesitated, but eventually turned and dashed back into the forest. When Jack returned inside, breathing heavily but unharmed, Mei Ling rushed to him. "Are you okay? That was so dangerous." He smiled softly at her concern. "I'm fine, just doing what needs to be done." Mei Ling was struck by the mix of bravery and tenderness in him. In that moment, she realized Jack wasn't just offering her shelter. He was willing to protect her. Her admiration for him grew deeper as she recognized that this man could be a true guardian in her life, a stark contrast to the fear she had known before. As the days passed, Mei Ling began to adapt to life in the mountains with Jack by her side. One morning, while gathering wood, she tried to mimic Jack's easy, confident manner. "Like this?" she asked, awkwardly lifting a heavy log. Jack chuckled, shaking his head. "You're not trying to lift it like a bear, are you? Think of it more like a graceful deer." He demonstrated with exaggerated movements, hopping around and pretending to leap gracefully. Mei Ling burst into laughter at his silly antics. "A deer? I've never seen such a clumsy deer in my life." "Well, I'm the first mountain man to teach a Chinese girl how to gather firewood and be a deer at the same time," he replied with a wink. The tension between them eased as they shared moments of laughter that warmed their hearts more than the fire ever could. Later, they sat by the cabin's hearth, and Jack shared stories about his past adventures. "You see," he said, grinning mischievously, "once I chased off a whole family of raccoons thinking they were bandits stealing my fish." "Bandits?" Mei Ling exclaimed, eyes wide with amusement. "And what did you do?" "I waved my arms and yelled like a wild man. They ran off so fast I thought I'd scared them back to the city." Mei Ling couldn't help but join in his laughter. Those light-hearted moments created a beautiful bond between them. With each laugh and shared story, her admiration for Jack grew deeper. She felt valued and cared for, and she recognized that perhaps she wasn't alone anymore in this vast wilderness. As the winter days continued to pass, Mei Ling found herself increasingly drawn to Jack. His caring nature and unwavering strength made her feel safe in a way she had long forgotten. One afternoon, while they were out gathering food, she noticed how he always kept a watchful eye on her, ensuring that she didn't slip on the icy patches or wander too close to the edge of a steep cliff. "Jack, you're so careful," Mei Ling said with a shy smile, feeling warmth spread through her. "I can manage, you know," he chuckled softly, brushing his fingers against hers as he helped her regain her balance. "I know you can, but I'm not taking any chances." In that moment, she felt butterflies in her stomach. It was an unfamiliar sensation, one of affection mixed with hope. The kindness behind his actions began to melt away the walls she had built around her heart. Later that evening, as they sat together by the fire, Jack shared his thoughts about life and love. "You know, Mei Ling," he said quietly, "sometimes it's hard to open up after you've been hurt, but it's worth it." Her heart raced at his words. "Do you think people can truly heal?" she asked, meeting his gaze. Jack nodded earnestly. "With time and understanding, yes." Mei Ling realized he was right. With every shared moment and tender glance, she was slowly healing from her past trauma, allowing herself to feel again. She admired him not only for his bravery, but also for how he treated her with respect and care, the very thing she had yearned for before. In that shared warmth of their growing relationship, Mei Ling felt she could not only survive, but thrive in this new chapter of her life. One chilly evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains and cast long shadows across the cabin, Mei Ling suddenly felt a sense of unease wash over her. She glanced at Jack, who was stacking firewood outside. Just then, the sound of horses' hooves echoed through the stillness, causing her heart to race. "Jack!" she called out, rushing to the window. "I think I hear someone coming." Jack paused, sensing her alarm. "Stay inside," he commanded softly but firmly as he moved towards the door. Peering out, Mei Ling's stomach dropped when she saw a familiar figure on horseback approaching. The silhouette of her husband, rage written all over his face. Panic surged through her. "No! He found me!" she gasped. "Who is it?" Jack asked, his voice steady as he stepped closer to her side. "My husband," Mei Ling whispered, fear clenching her throat. "He's come to take me back." Jack's expression hardened with resolve. "We won't let that happen." As her husband dismounted and stormed toward the cabin, Jack positioned himself protectively in front of Mei Ling. The tension in the air was palpable as Jack faced the intruder. "You need to leave," he said calmly, but with authority. Her husband sneered. "And who do you think you are? You have no right to keep her." Mei Ling felt torn between fear for herself and gratitude for Jack's bravery. She could see that the bond they had built was now being tested. Would Jack be able to protect her from this threat? With her heart racing and uncertainty clouding her mind, she realized that this moment could change everything for them both. An event that would either tighten their bond or shatter it completely. The tension in the air felt like a heavy weight as Mei Ling's husband stepped closer, his eyes filled with fury. Jack stood his ground, chest puffed out and fists clenched, his expression resolute. "You need to leave her alone," he said firmly, his voice unwavering. Her husband sneered, trying to assert dominance. "What's it to you, mountain man? This doesn't concern you." "It does now," Jack replied, stepping forward defiantly. "You've caused her enough pain. She deserves to be free. Free from you." Mei Ling's heart raced as she watched Jack confront her husband. She had never seen someone stand up for her like this before. It ignited a spark of hope deep within her. "Jack, please be careful," she whispered, fear creeping back into her voice. "You don't have to worry about me," Jack assured her without taking his eyes off the intruder. He continued, "You should be ashamed of yourself for coming here. You think you can just take her back after everything you've done?" Her husband took a step closer, but Jack didn't flinch. Instead, he raised his arm slightly, making it clear he would not back down. "If you take one more step toward her, I'll make sure you regret it." The standoff stretched on as Mei Ling held her breath, watching the clash of wills unfold before her. Finally, with a growl of frustration, her husband turned on his heel and stormed away, leaving an icy silence behind him. As the tension eased and Jack relaxed his stance, Mei Ling rushed to him, tears of relief filling her eyes. "Thank you," she said breathlessly. Jack pulled her into a strong embrace. "You're safe now," he whispered softly against her hair. In that moment of vulnerability and strength, Mei Ling knew they were bound together even more tightly than before, ready to face whatever came next, together. As the days turned into weeks, Mei Ling felt a peace wash over her that she had never known. Jack had become more than just a protector. He was her companion, confidant, and the embodiment of everything she had longed for. One evening, as they sat together by the fire, she gazed at him, her heart swelling with emotion. "Jack," she began, her voice shy but steady, "I've been thinking about us." He looked up from the flames, curiosity in his eyes. "What's on your mind?" "I never thought I would find a place where I feel safe and loved again, until I came here with you." She took a breath, gathering courage. "You've shown me kindness when I thought I didn't deserve it. You've made me feel at home." Jack smiled softly, his expression warm. "You deserve every bit of happiness, Mei Ling." With her heart pounding, she continued, "And I want to be with you for as long as you'll have me." "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" he asked playfully, trying to mask his growing excitement. "I want to be your wife," she declared boldly, her cheeks flushing slightly. Jack's face lit up with joy as he took her hands in his. "I've been hoping you'd say that. Yes, 1,000 times yes." Tears of happiness filled Mei Ling's eyes as he pulled her into his embrace. In that moment, all her fears melted away. She knew she had found true love and a real home in this rugged mountain man. Together, they could face anything the future held, bound by trust and newfound hope for their life together. In the cozy warmth of the cabin, Mei Ling and Jack stood facing each other, their hearts brimming with emotions. Soft candlelight flickered around them, casting a gentle glow that seemed to embrace their newfound love. "Jack," Mei Ling whispered, her voice filled with sincerity, "you've given me more than I ever thought I could have. Safety, love, and a true home." Jack smiled, his blue eyes shining with happiness. "And you've brought joy back into my life," he replied softly. "You make this place feel like a home, not just a cabin." They moved closer together, feeling the space between them dissolve as their hands intertwined. As they embraced tightly, a sense of peace washed over them like the comforting heat from the fire crackling nearby. Mei Ling felt secure in Jack's strong arms. It was a feeling she had longed for, a stark contrast to the fear she used to know. "Whatever comes our way," Jack murmured against her hair, "we'll face it together." Mei Ling nodded, her heart swelling with determination and love. "Yes," she said firmly, "together." In that moment of unity and warmth, both knew they had turned a corner in their lives. A new chapter filled with hope and safety lay ahead of them. They were no longer haunted by their pasts, but rather embraced by each other's strength and commitment. As they stood wrapped in each other's arms by the fire's glow, it symbolized not just their love, but also the promise of a bright future united as one, ready to build a life together full of laughter, support, and unyielding love.